movement of the roof or the product, the material, will make it deteriorate faster.
Hey everyone, this is Neo with the HOA Simplified Podcast. Thank you for tuning in again. Today we're talking about HOA roofing, from inspections to leak to full replacements. And our guest is from Saddleback Roofing, a trusted name in commercial and HOA roofing since 1956, serving communities across California. And our guest here is Dave Bernandi. Dave, thank you for joining us. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, give us a little bit background about yourself and Saddleback Roofing, and we'll get it started.
Cool. Yeah, I've been in the HOA roofing side. It's probably for about 16 years now. Not all of that was with Saddleback. I spent a lot of that time with another company, but most people that know me will know what company I'm talking about. But today's about Saddleback, and that's a good thing. Saddleback has been around for 70 years. We're primarily a commercial roofing company, but now they're tapping into residential, HOA, apartments, and of course keeping their backlog of commercial properties available and plenty to do there. So, right now roofing is hot, like literally.
Absolutely.
Not like a hot topic, but it's hot. It's hot outside.
It is hot outside, and that's the thing with California, right? At least. We got to worry about the temperature, but at least we don't have to worry about, too much rain, hail, or snow like some of these other states.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. When it does rain, it rains pretty good out here.
Mm-hmm.
And it rains on roofs that have been dry for too long, we'll say.
Yeah.
So leaks occur like crazy.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll definitely get into talking more about Saddleback, but since you've just been in the industry for so long, what are some of the, challenges, any lessons that you've learned over the years being in the HOA industry, something that our homeowners can learn from?
I'll tell you, I think that the biggest challenge, and probably the most consistent one as well, is budget. Roofs cost a lot of money. Cost a lot of money to replace roofs if you want to do it correctly with real warranties and a good company that's going to be there when you call them when it leaks. If it leaks, you want to work with somebody that's been doing it a long time. So you want to plan. You definitely want to have a plan for re-roofing. It's probably the largest expense you'll have as a community, even as a homeowner, probably. So it's you want to get an accurate reserve study.
Totally.
Make sure that reserve study has some research that was done in it. One that's calculated the spend for roofing appropriately, meaning the most recent cost for roof materials. Materials increase probably every 6 months. And so it just keeps going up, and then of course with tariffs and things like that, the economy is kind of weird right now, so it makes roofing weird.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right now is an interesting time. Inflation, a lot of people don't think that it'll hit the HOA industry too hard, but if you think about it, one of the biggest line items, the cost for a lot of HOAs is insurance. And roofing is a big one. There's a relatively long lifespan, but it's still something that homeowners need to, keep in mind. But like with insurance premiums increasing, there's the material cost for that as well. That's included. And it's an interesting time. It's a time that homeowners really need to understand and plan well a couple of years ahead so that they can really stay compliant, right?
Sure. Yeah, and a lot of homeowners, some homeowners don't even realize they have an HOA board. Like they know they live in an HOA, they know they pay money to something, but they don't know that they can actually participate in decision making and be a part of that,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I would encourage that along the way too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've seen a lot of reserve studies, and the reserve studies that we work with, at least, they're pretty well, they're graphically inclined, so they have a lot of graphs and stuff. And then the roofing usually has like 10 to 15 year timeline, and it just goes up like that. And then one roof replacement and it goes down, and then but it's just something. but it's needed. It's necessary. You need a roof over your head, quite literally, right?
It's going to be one of the most important spends they have, honestly. It protects your asset, right? So
no, exactly.
And that's primarily the most money we're going to spend in our life is our home,
Absolutely. And I mean, you've worked with many different projects over the years, whether it's in Saddleback or your previous roles. Is there one community or a project that really stuck with you?
There's a few, actually. But I will say that my favorite ones to work with are the ones who have been preparing for the project, for a re-roof project or roofing. Mm-hmm. They know the cost, they know the benefits, they've used their consultative resources very effectively, and they have humbled themselves enough to allow a contractor to do their job, so they kind of understand what that looks like. And they're not, a lot of HOAs can the board can kind of get in the way of themselves, right? Like they want to be involved so much. And that's great. They have the right spirit about them, and their heart's in the right place. But, when you've hired somebody to do that job, let them do the job. They're experts, and they call them that for a reason.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean,
my favorites are the ones that have kind of participated in what it takes to actually do that project,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we work with a lot of self-managed HOAs. Well, when they come to us, they will no longer be self-managed, but communities that have self-managed backgrounds a lot of times have a harder time understanding exactly what needs to be done and why. But, that's why we're here, right? That's why we're partnered with, experienced individuals like yourself, trying to educate the communities, help them, and make sure that they're staying compliant in all aspects.
Right. Yep. And you got to trust people.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a very people's industry is what this is.
Yeah, right? For sure.
It's very people's oriented. And that's why I like it, because
me too.
Yeah. I'm a big
definitely
talker.
A people person.
Yeah, 100%. So I know you guys do free roof assessments.
Yeah.
Right. And so kind of walk me through like what that looks like. If an HOA comes to you, it's like, hey, our roof is either leaking or like our roof lifespan's about to expire, we want an assessment. What happens?
So 99% of the time, we're going to recommend roof maintenance before anything, right? Mm-hmm. Have roof maintenance done and have it completed annually, at least once a year. There's sweet spots, different times of the year to do it. This is how you preserve that current roof for as long as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. While you save the money that you're going to need to do the roof, to do a roofing project, to take on roof replacement.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most expensive project, like I said. But it's probably the most important one too. Think about it. The roof is what protects your asset, the biggest purchase you'll probably make in life. So it should last a couple generations before you have to think about doing it again.
Yeah.
Some of these boards I sit with, they're old timers, and I mean, I'm not young. I'm 52 years old, so I like to say if I'm selling a roof today, I'm never going to be up there again. I'm never going to sell you a roof again because I'll be too old to do that by the time we're back up there, But roof assessments, you're going to get a photo report. We're going to, our agenda really is to do our best to bring the roofs down to you, because you don't have the opportunity to go up there. Right. A lot of people that sit on the board, they're not going to go on the roof. They trust the roofer to do that. So the photos really kind of tell the story and allow us to show them what's going on in detail. Mm-hmm. And it's a great way to document what's happening up there,
Yeah, no, now that I think about it, I don't think I know what my roof looks like. But if there was someone like you who can show me a photo, I'd love to take a look at it, right? I mean,
absolutely. Everybody loves the photos. They want to see it, Yeah.
So that's kind of the inspection process, right?
Right.
Okay. and photos, and are there anything else that kind of helps boards really understand, like, whether it be like minor repairs or like coatings or any, like, what do you kind of suggest to the boards, and what are kind of the other informations that you provide to them so that they can have a full understanding?
Yeah, so we'll present findings through photo documentation. And of course we'll have different tiers or levels of recommendations. I mean, it may not be time to replace the entire roof yet. It's going to depend on how invasive that roof is, how cut up, or how many different pitches there are to it. If we're talking about one big flat roof, likely it will need replacement more often, because flat roofs, just that's their nature. If you've got sloped roofs that have shingles or tiles on them, that's going to be a little bit different. And that's where the whole cut up, in quotes, comes from, is there's going to be different pitches and kind of, it's going to have some elevation to it because architects wanted to make it look cool or whatever back when they built them. So a lot of times what we'll find is that there's consistency up there. There's going to be a consistent area within a building, and we're going to see that area on every building. It's failing first, or it's failing the most, or it seems to be the most leak prone area that we're noticing that needs more love than the rest of the roof, for example. So we could build a custom plan that basically targets just that area, so there's not such a huge spend, and maybe you don't need to replace the entire roof, but you do need to replace those sections, and for a lot less money, you get some long-term out of it, and you're not then, disposing of roofing prematurely too, and filling up landfills and things like that with product that actually still have more lifespan to it,
Right. So you always try to provide them with the options that are not, full replacements, but that can just kind of, prolong the lifespan, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of times when we can buy them time, and most HOAs that I'm working with, they need the time, because they realize what they're about to embark on, and it's an expensive process. The amount of money that's been saved or whatever is not going to cover everything. So we plan and project for that, and kind of help them develop something that will give them more time. It could be 5 years, it could be up to 10 years. If it's shorter span than that, then typically we're all going to start targeting re-roofing anyway, right?
Nice.
So even that, though, is going to be the mindset is to buy them time, to get them either approved for a loan, to replace the roofs all at once, or start saving the money. Assessment, figure out a plan that's gonna pay for the project, because it's expensive.
Right. No.
But yeah, if we can do repairs and maintenance and buy them a few years, everybody likes the sound of that. That's an easy thing to approach, and it makes people comfortable. It allows you the time to build some trust, and build a relationship with them, and let them know that you're not going anywhere. You're here to help. And
for sure. Yeah. With Saddleback, how long does a roof, if it's a repair, how long does that usually take? If it's a full replacement, how long does that usually take? I know it should be like a case-by-case scenario, but like on average.
Yeah, on average, a repair is going to be maybe, I mean, it depends, there's so many different types of roofing and ways to apply it. But I'll say that a repair can be as short as 1 day, to as long as a week for a repair. Right. A replacement, I could probably tell you the same thing for replacement, but replacement just involves a lot more. You're going to involve the city in a replacement, because you're going to have them come out to do an inspection, and inspect the substrate and make sure that there's no wood to replace, things like that, before you apply the new product.
Right.
So that is at least a couple of days to involve the city as well. Get your sign off from the building department before you put product down. You put product down, and then you may have a manufacturer that wants to come out and check out the process, or see how you've applied their product, and make sure that they're going to clear their warranty, or present it, give it to us.
Right.
So it involves a couple different people for replacement. And of course, it's going to depend on the size. If we're talking a duplex with two families sharing a roof, it's a short period of time, probably a week, but if you're talking big 2-story, 6 units per building kind of thing, it's, you're looking at a couple weeks per building sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely a case by case scenario, right? And I think, in other states that have like hail, for example, I'm a little bit familiar with Colorado, and there's a lot of hail there. So when I talk to some roofing experts there, they're like, the hail just kind of ruins the roof. The lifespan probably shortens by half. Probably not the case in California. So what are some of the like common issues that you see that really deteriorates roofs here in California?
The most common you're going to see out here is probably the there's a name for it. I can't remember. It's thermal something or other, but it's basically the heat out here in California, because we get extreme temperatures from hot in the afternoon to pretty cool at night. So what's happening in a 24-hour period is expansion and contraction.
Right.
And that movement of the roof or the product, the material, will make it deteriorate faster. And that's the typical out here. Earthquakes are not going to create a lot of damage, but it really is that expansion contraction that is going to be the wear and tear that's going to accelerate deterioration. It's extreme heat, and then we have our dry spells, where we go years at a time with dry weather. That's not necessarily healthy for the roofs unless they're being maintained during that period. Our best first line of defense is going to be roof maintenance annually, and every roofer is going to tell you that. Do your roof maintenance. It's the best bang for your buck. You're not going to regret it. It's going to prolong the life of the roof. You're going to know what's happening up there throughout the years, and you're going to know when it's time to replace.
Yeah, definitely. What goes on in the roof maintenance?
Roof maintenance is really just everything that you can see up there. So you've got penetrations that come through the roof, like pipes and vents and things like this. And where those are intersecting or meeting with the roof system, there's going to be some urethane or, some like liquid rubber that's applied at the seam where the pipe meets the collar to the roof system. And that seam, that wherever that product, that liquid rubber is applied throughout a roof system, it needs to be reapplied, every year. So sometimes it's mastic, and mastic can be encompassed in like some granules, that they'll cover the mastic in, which helps it last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But how tiles break is honestly from that same process of expansion and contraction. It sounds crazy, but it is what breaks tiles. That, and of course, other vendor traffic up there, like satellite guys or whatever, but roof tiles break, and so we want to replace all of those, everything that we can see. They slip out of place. We want to put them back into place. There'll be mortar, like cement mortar up there that we want to reapply or put it back in place, and use kind of like an adhesive to stick it in there and make it stay. You've got like coping metal, sometimes some metal flashings and things like that throughout the system that will overlap itself, but every seam where it overlaps itself, we want to seal that with that same urethane. So there's a lot of that gets applied up there. And of course, debris, tree leaves and things like that. That's all got to come off the roofs, because it's, it traps moisture up there. That'll be a wet spot underneath there that is deteriorating the roof faster than the regular weather. So you definitely want to remove the debris from the gutters and the roofs. I mean, the gutters are going to have it just as much as the roofs, and you want the gutters to be cleared out, the valleys to be cleared out of all that stuff, so that water flows freely from the roof. That's a good roof system, one that's got the water coming off of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And speaking of water, storm damage might be something that some homeowners might be concerned about. Maybe not so much in California, but sometimes, right? And also like emergency leaks. right? So you're roofing, like you just start getting water on your roof and it just starts going indoors. Something like that happens, right? How should a homeowner kind of respond to that? And like, what does Saddleback Roof kind of work with these emergency situations as well?
Sure. Yeah, most of your roofing companies out there are going to have some sort of response, especially if they are focused on HOAs and homeowners. You know, if a roof is leaking, then we want to know about it, whether we've installed it or not. We're all eager to hear about it, know about it. It's what we do. You know, we repair and replace roofs. So, and it's always interesting to see how these leaks are occurring. You know, my previous company, they're experts at detecting leaks. Saddleback's got a couple experts on their team. You know, that I'm sure every roofer has a couple experts on their team as far as leak detection goes. You know, they're knowing where that leak is coming from sometimes before they even pull up. You know, they know it. They know the community. They know the style of roof or whatever. So typically a homeowner wants to respond by stopping the water from coming into the home, right?
Yeah.
If it's coming into the home, you still have the control and the ability to maintain it, to stop it, to catch it. So it's not damaging whatever the water's coming in on, right? Like wood floors or your bed or whatever it might be. Get a bucket, move the bed. You know, some of the obvious things are if water is collecting behind something like the ceiling, the drywall, and it's swelling, you know, you want to poke a hole in that and let that water drain out, you know, so that it doesn't just spread and make that bubble bigger and make the damage much more intense. So you want the water to get out, right? And so however you've got to maintain that. If it's in a window, you're using towels and the squeegee or something, you know, but it's typically trash cans and buckets and things like that to just maintain and manage that water until the roofer can get there. And typically all they're going to do is cover the roof. You know, they're going to get up there, they're going to put a tarp on the roof, they're going to cover it, make sure it's not coming in anymore, and then probably come back with a proposal or an approval to do an invasive type of repair to actually fix the roof. They're not going to do much, though, in the rain and during a storm. But we all care about the fact that water's coming in your home. It may not sound like it because everybody's under a lot of pressure and they're just trying to get to the next call or whatever, but they care. We all do care and don't want that to be happening. So we're here to help.
Like a couple of years back in my home, the ceiling, so there was a little glass on the roof, which was really good to look at, right? It's pretty. You get some sunlight and whatnot.
Like skylight, right?
It cracked. So water was just leaking in when it rained, and I just had to put a trash can there. I got it fixed and everything, but you know, there's anything you can do to keep those water out, right? Like just anything. That's
it. And if you can't keep it out because you can't go on the roof, you can't, you know, cover your window. You're not going to go out there and deal with it from the outside, but you know where it's coming in at. You can at least manage that part, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So like swelling walls and, you know, like water obviously coming in, those are some very like obvious warning signs. Are there some, you know, other warning signs that boards or homeowners maybe should look out for that's a little less obvious, that kind of points towards, you know, like, hey, your roof is deteriorating, or maybe you should get this checked out, or anything like that?
Well, so if you're just on the ground walking through the property, or you're walking around your house and looking up to try to determine something like that, you know, I think what you're looking for is going to depend on the system that you have. If you've got tile roofs, you're looking for cracked or broken tiles. You're looking for tiles that maybe are slipping out of place. You're looking at the debris on the roofs. Like I said, that you want to remove that. If you've got the gutters are filled up with something, you need to get that out, because that gutter starts to get heavy. Or if it's collecting water that's not leaving the gutter, it's going to get really heavy and start bowing out of place, or look like it's coming off of the roof eventually. Sometimes it's the wood. You know, you've got wood fascia as trim around the roof, and you can see that it needs to be replaced because it's soft in spots from either termites or water damage, right?
Right.
Sometimes that's a good indicator, you know, but you've got a lot of roofers out there offering free inspections, especially the HOAs. Take them up on it.
Just take them
up.
Send them
up there. Get your free inspection and get a report. You know, even if you are slightly questioning it, you know, which in your first couple of years of living in a new HOA, probably not really that concerned about it, right? But if you've been there and you know the community's been there a long time and you don't know how long it's been since you've seen a roofer, it's a good time to get a free inspection done. You know, it's going to help.
It's free.
It's free. And yeah, you can't lose. I mean, of course, somebody like me might come back to you and try to sell you on something, but you know, you still have the option to say no.
Yeah.
You can get other quotes and all that stuff, but at least now you have some data, you have a report, you have information, you have, you know, you kind of have something to go on to create a plan around the roofs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I always tell my HOAs to, you know, do regular maintenance, whether it be roofers or, you know, even just structural common areas, just get those regular maintenances done. But, you know, sometimes people just don't want to do it, or they just they just forget about it. They just kind of let it slide. And then something is just, everything just kind of piles up and you're opening a can of worms later. Right. So,
there's a lot of cans of worms out there.
A lot of cans of worms. Yeah. So, you know, Dave, if you can, you know, share a story on how, like, you know, anything where like a regular maintenance caught a small problem before it turned really detrimental.
You know, so maintenance is exactly that, right?
Right.
Like
right.
It is the plan to prevent detrimental, you know? So I think that if you're doing regular maintenance, you're not going to have to experience something like that unless there is some crazy storm and, you know, a tree breaks. I mean, there's a lot of times a tree branch will break through the roof, you know, and it's scary and it's big sound and all of that, you know, that's probably one of the more scarier situations I've seen that kind of are not ordinary and come out of nowhere.
Right.
But I mean, I have a lot of stories. You might want to, you might be more specific about like what that looks like, because my best answer to that question is maintenance is exactly that. It's what's going to prevent that incident from happening, you know?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just, you know, there are crazy stories out there just being in the HOA industry. And a lot of times, you know, when I talk to homeowners, just saying, hey, maybe get your roof inspection might not work. Like same thing with, what is it? SB 326, right? Balcony inspections. Yeah. Like a lot of people kind of don't want to do it. I mean, there's no balcony police out there. They're like, oh, well, who's really going to check? But then I show them a video of, I think it was in San Diego a couple months ago, of this guy hanging out, his legs hanging out from his balcony because he didn't get his balcony checked. And actually, one of our podcast guests told me about this story. And now, whenever I talk to my HOAs, I show them the video, and they're like, "Oh, shoot, maybe we should get this checked out, right?"
I mean, you know, people on the board are on the board because they do care about their fiduciary duty and they want to, you know, they're that responsible person and representative of the community. And so most of your board members absolutely want to be doing those things. Like that's why they got on the board.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't come across too many that are kind of turning us away and telling us, no, we don't need that, especially if we're offering a free service.
Right.
And I know that SBC 26 thing, I know that thing is really become kind of a big pain for everybody. I know that it's a pain point. Exactly. It's a lot of money that nobody expected they're going to have to spend. And but in the long, you know, at the end of the day, you're keeping families safe, man, you know, and you're taking care of your community. You're doing the right things, you know. Yes, it's not where you wanted to spend the money, but you're taking care of families, you know, and possibly even yours. Yeah,
no, definitely. With a lot of our HOAs, one thing that I think a lot of HOAs nowadays struggle with this, you know, large or small, is the finances, right? You know, maybe they don't have enough reserve funds, or, you know, they just weren't really prepared for, you know, a roof replacement or even a repair. Is there a way where these, you know, HOAs can kind of phase work over multiple months or multiple years or seasons or anything like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We pride ourselves on developing plans like that,
Okay.
So I mean, absolutely, yes. Phasing is usually not avoidable due to how much the roofs cost, right?
Yeah.
So we'll develop a plan with an HOA and utilize whatever data we can accumulate, or that we have accumulated, or that they might have, to kind of design that plan. What I mean by that is they might have buildings within the HOA that have been leaking for some time, or that have the most leaks on them, and it could be out of 10 buildings, you've got these 2 that are just, they're money pits, right? They're where they've spent all the money.
Yeah.
Spend the right money, right? And replace those 2 roofs is typically what we'll start aggressive and go after anything that got history of leaking, and try to start with that as your phase 1, if you can afford it. And, you're developing a financial plan as well, right? It's not just a construction plan to replace roofs, but really it's more of a financial plan than it is a roofing plan. And you're trying to beat the increases. So you want to do as much as you can, as soon as you can. But you want that to make sense too. So you want to attack the roofs that are giving you the most trouble. Some people might see that the other way around and think, well, we've already put all that money into that roof. We don't want to replace that one. We want to replace this one over here that hasn't given us any problems. Well, why? It hasn't given you any problems. That's, so from the roofer's perspective, we're going after the ones that are causing problems. And if that one decides to start causing you problems, we'll add it into the next phase. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. 5-year phase plans are, they're a popular thing because nobody's got $1 million to replace all their community's roofs,
No.
Or whatever hundreds of thousands it might cost, because it's pricey.
And no one wants to do a special assessment.
No, you can avoid the special assessments. There's ways to do that. I've worked with communities that have gotten really creative with their finances, and they've figured out how to do it. Phasing is one way to do it. There's HOA lenders out there, banks that want to give HOAs loans, and most HOAs are going to qualify for them. They just are not educated and don't know that, so it will never hurt for a board to just sit with one of these lenders and just hear what they might be able to do to help them, and you'd be surprised how those programs can help. It really takes an open-minded board, though. A lot of these people, when you say that, they shut down and they just, no loan, we don't want to do that. Well, okay. Then you like leaking roofs and angry homeowners, maybe. I don't know. But this is just another solution or another resource to the problem, right?
Right.
And it turns out it's a good one.
Yeah. Like if there is a need, if your roof really needs replacement and there's really nothing you can do, it's better than just increasing you can't even increase your dues more than 10-20% usually, right? So
probably not enough to cover a new roof.
No, definitely. And so, special assessment, there's SBA loans are getting better. There's different options, that they can talk with the manager or even a roofer and just kind of see what the options are, right?
That's it. If I need a truck to carry all the roofing stuff out there and I don't have one, but the bank says I can have one, I'm working with the bank. I'm getting the truck and I'm going to do the roof, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's talk more about, Saddleback Roofing, right? Kind of what sets you guys apart, right? You guys been around forever, right? What really makes Saddleback Roofing unique in this space?
So in my time I've been here, I think that I'm actually impressed. Saddleback has a very open-minded upper management staff that is ready to take on whatever. They listen to their employees, they listen to their customers, they understand that that times are changing and technology is rapidly growing and evolving all the time. So there's always this, you want to stay innovative and you want to keep up, right, with the technology and with the times, right?
Of course.
But I think with Saddleback, what's impressive to me about Saddleback is how independent they are. And what I mean by that is Saddleback they have their own sheet metal company
Oh,
within
really?
Saddleback.
Wow.
So we
Okay.
don't have to outsource any sheet metal. They have their own dump trucks for tear off, for taking off the old roof. They've got their own trucks. They've got their own Pettibone forklifts to load roofs. They've got their own, tankers to do a hot mopping type of roof or coatings for roofs. They've got a fleet of, an industry of equipment. It's really impressive. And they can take on any type of roofing, any manufacturer, any style or type of roofing. They're qualified to do it, certified to do it. And they're ready. I think that the readiness is impressive, and the fact that you don't have to outsource so many different things is so nice for someone like me who might be estimating or talking with a customer that needs those things. And, I have to get back with you. Because I got to check this resource and that resource. And it's all in-house, man. I just go to the next office over and talk to the sheet metal guys about chimney caps or, flashing or whatever. So it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, having everything. I mean, especially now with the prices changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
Like doing that in-house must have like huge,
it's a major benefit. It really is. I mean, if I were to compare cost from an outsourced sheet metal guy and then look at what it costs in-house, I mean, you can imagine the difference in that, right? And there's no transport. There's none of that. Like we have raw materials on site, all the machines and everything that are making it, cutting it, the engineers that are designing it, the guys that are, installing it. I mean, we have sheet metal projects and roofing projects. And
that's amazing.
Of course, them paths cross, right? So yeah, it's impressive. I when I was first given the tour as the new guy there, and we just kept on walking through the place. It was pretty impressive.
Wow.
It gives me all these great ideas too. Like, hey, can I bring my HOAs in here and let them see what's going on here?
It's like a Disneyland for roofing.
It's kind of cool. I know I got a lot of managers, man, property managers that would love to see what we're doing over there. You know?
No, I'd love to take a visit myself.
yeah, they love it. And I'm sure there's HOAs that are, board members that would love to see that too.
Yeah, definitely.
There's not a lot of roofing companies that are willing to do that too. Nobody wants to show you what they got under the hood all the time, right? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Is there kind of a difference in how you approach? Because I know you guys do commercial as well. Is there a difference between approaching kind of, commercial versus HOA, and then within the HOA, like a larger, professionally managed community versus like a more self-managed community?
I'm going to say not really, because the client is very different.
Right.
When you're selling to an HOA, self-managed or with the property manager, my experience is in that, right? Is in that arena of this market space. And so I have plenty of experience in that. When you're selling to a commercial building owner, it's a lot different than HOA homeowners.
Yeah.
These guys don't, they don't have the same mindset as a homeowner that lives there, that is protecting their asset or responsible for all those homeowners' money. Like, this is his money, and he's going to pull the trigger when he's ready, but he's shopping. And if he's shopping, that typically means he's buying, right? So you want to be prepared for that, and there's some competition in the commercial side of it all. And it's pretty steep competition, but with a name like Saddleback, 70 years, I mean, these guys definitely are one of the more popular companies. We're definitely more popular than most,
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I would say no. My approach is I'm going to meet them right where they're at. Any of them, small company, homeowner to big business, Amazon building. I'm going to meet you right where you're at and provide what you need.
Yeah,
and I'm blessed. I've got the company that will do it. No,
100%. Anything new coming out from your team? Any new services, new roofing technology? Any expansion efforts? Anything that our viewers and homeowners should kind of look out for?
Well, we're about to celebrate 70 years, man. So
wow.
I mean, I'm sure Saddleback has a few big things coming up. So you'll want to keep your eyes out for that. I mean, I'm sure that we're gonna extend some of these celebrations to the customers as well.
Okay.
Aside from that, AI is the big thing. I mean, it's the next big tech thing that everybody's trying to incorporate or integrate into their business somehow, some way. And I think that we're all thinking about that and ways we can do that. Drones are already a thing of the past now that we've got AI. So
yeah.
who knows? Maybe one day we'll have robots up there doing it, man. I don't know.
Yeah, or combine it together, right? A AI
Right.
drone that like can, just inspect the roofs or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, but
Yeah. You never know. I mean, as long as we're innovative, we stay dreaming, and if you can think of it, I'm sure it's possible, right?
100%. No, Dave, thank you so much for your insights. I think, a lot of our, roofing is, as you mentioned, one of the more costly assets, and a lot of our communities and our homeowners are concerned, but also eager to learn more, see what they should really look out for. And I think you kind of gave a very good overview. If there's one takeaway that board members or homeowners or even managers, right, should remember about roof care, what would that be?
Annual roof maintenance. I've said it a couple of times.
Annual roof maintenance.
You gotta do it every year. Take it seriously.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
right now, and I'll tell you this. Actually, this is a great takeaway. Nobody wants to do much with roofing in the summertime. Because it's not leaking. There's no issue with the roof. The roofs are fine until the rain comes. So think about that from a roofer's perspective, because this is the time the season kind of it gets dry and slow, honestly. Yet it's a great time to think about that larger project. If you can fit it in during the drier months, man, you really should go for it and try to get it done. If you can make it happen during dry months, push for that. Don't wait for the rain to remind you've got to do something to the roofs. That'll be the take. That's my takeaway.
That's a good takeaway. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. No, thank you again for your time. And, I appreciate Saddleback Roofing for, doing so much for the HOA industry and making sure that our communities are protected and proactive in terms of roofing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, to our viewers, thank you again for joining. This was the HOA Simplified Podcast with Dave Bernandy, Saddleback Roofing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.